If you are someone who's planning to study in United States, then I'm assuming you are already aware of MPOWER Financing. But if you're not, MPOWER Financing gives education loan to international students who want to study in United States or Canada. And they are no collateral, no cosigner, which means you don't have to have a property or a guarantor with you to go through the loan process. It's completely based on you and your future potential. And their entire process is completely online. You can get your eligibility check within 60 seconds and your entire loan application process done within 25 minutes or so. In this video, we are going to walk through the step-by-step application process. So if you have any question about MPOWER Financing or the loan process or the application process, hopefully this video will help you and guide you. Now, if you need more information about MPOWER Financing and the loan process, I've also put the link in the description. It's a special link because you get $100 off and there's a lot more resources on that link. So go and check out. If you have any further question, please let us know in the comment section. I was fortunate enough to meet with one of the MPOWER's team member to walk through the entire application step by step. I asked them a bunch of questions which you may have the similar questions. So hopefully this video will help you. Again, MPOWER, thank you so much for sponsoring this video. And now enjoy the full video with the MPOWER team member. Thank you, Rahul, for doing this. I am excited. I've done multiple videos on MPOWER, but this is good to have someone from MPOWER team who can actually walk us through what will the application process look like and answer some questions. But before we get started, let's do a quick intro. Who are you? And then we'll go from there.
Definitely. Thank you for having me today, of course. My name is Rahul Chavaria. I'm part of our university relations team with MPOWER Financing. I've had the pleasure to be with MPOWER Financing for the past 3.5 years. It's been a great experience. Definitely excited to be here today.
Is it possible to just see, like create an eligibility criteria for myself and we can show people like how
of course.
And this I'm assuming is completely free as well.
Yeah, of course. It's completely free. It's free of charge. There are no application fees. There's never going to be an application fee at all, whether you're checking eligibility or whether you're processing an application. So the good thing to know is we will never charge you a fee. It's free of charge. The only thing we definitely do ask is that you have a current email address that you have access to at all times, because of course that's how we're going to initiate that communication with you as well.
Okay. Let's look at the eligibility criteria.
Definitely. What will happen is, of course, you're going to want to visit our website, and of course, Yudi will provide that link. So the link that Yudi provides will take you directly to the website. And once you get to the website, then of course, what you want to look for is apply now or click to apply. So there's different methods that you can use. And of course, we'll get into that. The other thing too is that you definitely want to check out the resources that are available on our website, because we want to make sure that we can provide as much information as to you during this process. So what we'll start off with is, of course, apply now. And as we go through apply now, we have done some changes to the process. And the biggest change that we've done recently is, of course, if you have a Google account, then it gives you the option to continue with a Google account. And this is just your eligibility check. The great thing about it is, if you don't have a Google account, then that's perfectly fine, because what you want to do is, of course, you want to kind of continue through the process using an email address of your choice, right? So when you get here, as you can see, it's going to tell you check your loan eligibility in just 1 minute. So it's a very quick step process. So what we'll do here is we'll start fresh. So we'll put UDJ and then So as I stated earlier, the most important piece to this is this email address. The email address, when you check your eligibility, that's going to be the email address that you will use to log in to your MPOWER dashboard once you've officially submitted your application. And most importantly, let's say that you start your application process, but something comes up, you need to kind of step away for a little bit and then come back to it. That email address that you utilize is the email address that we will communicate with you, just to remind you that, hey, you started your application, but it looks like you haven't submitted it yet. Here's a link to go ahead and complete the application. Now, one of the things that I'll show you here is we always provide a tip throughout the application process from eligibility all the way through submission. So the biggest tip here is if you have multiple first or last names, then enter the name as it appears on your passport or other legal documents. If you have
Mm,
a middle name, add it to the first name field. Now you may be asking yourself, well, why is this so important? The reason that this is important is because towards the end of the application, you're going to have to upload your passport from your home country. And what the system does is once you upload the passport, it's going to scan it and it's automatically going to try to match the information on your passport to the information that you supplied as far as the eligibility and the application goes. And if everything matches, then it'll give you a green check mark. And of course, you'll proceed to the next steps in the process.
okay, nice.
Yep. So as we move forward here, of course, you'll
Mhm.
go to next. And this is of course, one of the biggest steps, and it's a primary step in the process because we want to get to know you more.
Mm,
So, as you can see here, it's asking you, what brings you to Empower, right? Are you thinking about studying? Have you applied and you're still waiting on admission? So, you want to kind of, get the process started immediately. Have you been accepted but haven't started classes? Are you enrolled and you're already attending classes, or are you already here and you're transferring schools? The
mm,
most common option here that we see from a lot of students is that they have been accepted, but yet to start class. So these are
mm,
the international students that we get where they start their process early in the year, let's say January, February, March, so that way they can prepare for their visa process. So
mm.
we'll go ahead and start with accepted
Wait,
yet to start class.
before
Go ahead.
uh,
Mhm.
can you go back to the screen? Okay.
Yeah.
So from this options, it looks like thinking about studying. So how far can I let's say if I'm planning to go for fall 2026 in this case,
Mhm.
can I start the process like now in 2025? And how far back can I start the process? Like I know that I'm thinking about studying, but I haven't yet applied. So that'll be the first option. But can I still do the eligibility check?
Yes, you can definitely do the eligibility check to ensure that your school is eligible, your program's eligible. Um, Now, if you want to fully submit your application, you can definitely start it. If you're looking to say start in fall of 2026, normally what happens is we open up our application for the fall 2026 term around August of the prior year. And the reason we do it is so that way you have more than enough ample time to kind of get your application going. Because as we know, we want to assist you and support you in your visa process. So if you're looking to study for fall 2026, typically we will open up around August of 2025. But that doesn't stop you from checking your eligibility. You can always check your eligibility because what it's going to do, it's going to ask about the school and the program that you're going to be pursuing. And of course, it's going to ask you for an estimated time frame as to when you're looking to start your program, and of course, when you anticipate to complete that program.
Got it. Okay. And then another one which was interesting is enrolled and attending classes. So in this case, if I was already studying at Purdue University, maybe I didn't in the first place took the loan from Empower, but now I need some extra funding. It looks like I could opt for Empower at that point of time as well.
Yes, that is 100% correct. So if you are already at Purdue University, and let's say that for the first year of your program studies, you were able to cover them because you had the funds for it, but now you notice that, hey, you know what? There are lenders that provide international student loans to international students, and you're looking to apply, then you can definitely click enrolled and attending classes. What this does is it tailors the application directly to the option that you choose. So, being that you would choose enrolled attending classes, then later on through the application, once it gets time to upload documents, what's going to happen is it's going to trigger the system to ask you for a transcript because it's going to notice that you clicked enrolled attending classes. And the reason that it's going to trigger the request for a transcript is because, of course, we want to make sure that we can evaluate the grades that you already have And that kind of helps your application because we already know that you're studying, you have grades in the system, and we can already see the progress that you're making.
Got it. Okay, awesome. All right. In this case, let's assume I have gotten the admit from Purdue and yet to start the classes, and we'll
Yeah,
move forward to
of
the next.
course.
Okay.
So once you do that, then of course here is where you would put the university, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, we provide student loans to institutions in the US and Canada, but what you would want to do here, of course, is type in Purdue University, well, just Purdue, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's going to give you the option for all the eligible schools and the schools in our system.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing and one piece of advice that I have as you go through this application is once you type it in, if you have these drop down options, you would want to click on one of the drop down options. And the reason that you want to click on the drop down option is because, of course, it's going to give you a green check mark. That green check mark is important as we go through this application process because it's going to allow us to proceed to the next step. If you do not see that green check mark, then of course the system is going to ask you to go back and look at the information that you've inputted.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
All
Cool.
right, so we'll go ahead and do Purdue University. We've got our green check mark. We're going to hit next. And now it's actually going through the eligibility check.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is it's processing the information that you submitted as far as the school goes. And because Purdue University is an eligible school in our system, it's taking us to this page. And this is where you want to input what your degree is going to be. So you're
Was
pursuing
in
a
masters.
master's.
Mm-hmm.
hmm And then here we'll put in,
Let's do computer science for the
yeah,
simplicity.
all right. So we'll click on computer science, and then this should be the date your future classes start. So if you recall, when we started the application, you have been admitted and you're
Mm-hmm.
looking to, of course,
Start in
attend
August,
classes start
probably.
in August. Yep. So we'll click August of 2025, and then let's say your program is 24 months. Then what we're going to do is we'll complete it in May of
Mm-hmm.
2027.
Yep.
So now we'll hit next. All right. And then, of course, it's going to ask you a little bit more information as far as the citizen country
India.
there. Yep.
Yep.
So we'll do India. And of course, as you can see, we got a green check mark. And then this here is an important part of the application because, of course, based on the link that Yudi provides, then you'll be able to choose the option on here as well.
Mm-hmm.
All
Okay.
right. So we'll go ahead, click out there, and then we'll hit next. Now that we've gotten to this point of the application, then of course, recommendation always is there's a link here on the privacy policy. I always recommend that you click on it, kind of read the policy. It's not that long. I think it's about 2, 3 pages. And then of course, you want to make sure that you can kind of understand, the agreement as you hit continue.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now it's checking the eligibility in full because we've put in Purdue University, we've put in the school that you're going to be attending, the program, start date, end date. And as you can
Yep.
see now, we're in the midst of starting the application here.
Nice. Okay. And it says you are eligible. So, like, okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So the biggest thing here is congratulations, Yudi, you're eligible. Now, once you see this, the next thing you want to look at when you're going through this application is the bar at the top because
Mm,
it's telling you, it's kind of giving you an indication as to how long is estimated to complete the application. But of
mm,
course, this all kind of falls in line with, the pace that you're going with as you're completing the application.
right.
So, of course, salutations, click Mr. We have UDJ. This here is information that has already been pre-populated from the eligibility check. And
Mm,
one thing I want to kind of point out here is that as you can see, first name as per your passport. So if
yeah.
you recall a little bit earlier, we always stated that you want to put the information as it applies on your passport.
Yep.
Now,
That's
of
good.
course, just for application purposes here, you'll go ahead and put in your date of birth.
That makes me feel so old. Maybe we should do 2000.
let's let's do
2000.
2000.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Mm. All right.
Nice.
So now I've got your email address in here. This page is very important, and you may ask yourself, why do we have an alternative email option? So as you click the tip here, it's always going to ask you to add an additional email address. It isn't optional, but the reason that we always ask for an additional email address is because if for some reason you lose access to that primary email address, then of course we can use that alternative additional email address that you provided to us. Now, as I stated, it's optional. If you're 100% confirmed with the primary email address on here, then definitely we can proceed with the application.
Nice.
All right. Now, of course, how can we communicate with you?
Mm,
So this is where a lot of our international students, if you have a US number and you're already in the US, then great, you can input that there. But if you still haven't come over to the US, then you can give us your local home country number. We do
nice.
have access, and our customer service team does have access to reach out to you directly. So if you do provide that number, then we try to communicate with you via email, but also try to communicate with you via the phone number that you provide.
Nice.
All right, so let me just put it here. And now, most importantly, we know that a lot of countries use WhatsApp. So if you do want to opt in to being contacted via WhatsApp, because we want to make sure that we can communicate with you, then you definitely want to click that option. Now, that is optional. If you choose not to be wanting to be contacted via WhatsApp, then of course you don't have to click anything. But let's just say that you do want to be contacted via WhatsApp because you're quick to communicate via that application, then of course you'll click on here, but most importantly, it's going to give you a box here. It's going to tell you by clicking I accept, you acknowledge and review and agree to the terms and disclosures. Now, one thing I will say is that once we communicate with you, we're only going to communicate with you directly in regards to Empower Financing, status of your application, and any questions that you may have directly.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. All right. Now, of course, put here you were a citizen of India. So now we're going to ask you for your permanent address in India. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, why do you need that information? So, of course, once before you come into the US, then your main form of permanent residence would be in your home country of India. So, of course, once you input that information, then it gives us the opportunity that if we need to send anything to you or if we need to communicate anything with you, then of course we can input that address. One of the things, the main purposes for this address here also is once you're approved for a loan, we're able to provide you with that visa support letter. And a lot of the times, that visa support letter will have the address of your home country that you provide to us.
Nice. Okay.
All right. So let me put an address on here. And one of the most important pieces here is when you put in the country, of course, you also want to look for that green check mark. So that way it can continue to the next step in the process. And then as you see here, as we're going to the
Karnataka.
province,
Hmm.
yeah, then you want to put it on there to choose and then boom. All right, so we're all good to go. We have our green check marks. We'll continue. Now, it's going to ask you if you are already here in the United States, then it's going to ask you if you have a mailing address. So if you do, then you can input it here by clicking yes. But if you don't, then you can easily click no. One thing I will let you know is that we do not require a U.S. mailing address if you don't have one.
Got it. Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Non-citizen.
Yep. And then this is where we'll click non-citizen. Since you're
Mhm.
a citizen of India, we'll continue. Do you already have a visa to study in the United States? If you do, then you click yes, and it's going to give you the option to choose the visa. If you don't, then you can easily click no. Another disclaimer, you do not need a visa at the current moment to start your application or submit your application.
Mm,
Same thing with the social security number. If you have one already in the US because you've been here, then great, you choose yes and it'll allow you to input it. But of course, if you don't, you can easily click no and it'll take you to the next step.
Yep.
Now, this is one of the most important parts of the application, is adding a reference. Now, I do want to let you know that by adding a reference on here, you are providing the name of someone that we can contact if you're not reachable. The
Mm.
most important part about this is that the person is not a cosigner and has no obligation to this loan. So
Yeah.
what that means is that the only purpose for us to use this contact is if you're unreachable. And a lot of the times, you could lose your phone, you get a whole new phone number, then of course we want to make sure that we can stay in contact with you.
Mm. And again, I know we touched on this early on, but Empower is no cosigner, no collateral loan. So
100%. No cosigner, no collateral. This is exactly what it's called. It's just a reference, just in case we need to communicate with you and you're unreachable, then we'll use this contact to reach out to you.
nice. Okay.
All right. And then put the email address. And of course, the phone number. So you always want to make sure that you can input an email and a phone number on there. We'll
Nice.
confirm and continue. All
Okay.
right. Now here you accept the disclosures. Now, of course, recommendation is please ensure that you click on the link so that way you can read through the disclosures. It has some very good information on there. Once you've reviewed the disclosures, then of course you want to come in here and click I have read and agreed to the consent, and then we'll hit next. Now, one thing I want to point out here is, as you can see here at the top bar, now we're at the education piece of the application. The good thing
Mm.
is that it was telling us we had 19 minutes. Now we're down to 13 minutes to complete this application. And
Nice.
also the system is notifying you that you're doing a great job. So now we're
Yeah.
just going to ask you some questions in regards to your
Yeah.
education.
Yeah,
So
and in
your
our
10,
case, it may take slightly longer just because we are talking and you're explaining, but in
yes.
real life, this might be faster.
Yes, yes. I always tell people this is always very quick, especially when you have the time just to sit down, knock out a quick 5 to 10 minutes. You can get this application out the way.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
So you're attending Purdue University, you're pursuing a master's, and of course, it's going to ask you what you're studying here. So I think we'll put in computer science.
Yep. The fourth
Of
one.
course, yeah, fourth one. Now it's going to ask you what kind of program type of it. If you're attending the school, then of course it's on campus. And
Hmm.
then what your enrollment status is. Most students pursue a
Full
full-time
time.
program.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So now this is where we get to the most important part of the application process. And this is where, if kind of want to draw your attention up here, it says financial 2 of 9. The reason that it skips a page is because since you chose Purdue University and the master's program that you're pursuing, MPOWER has some data already from the school's website that will calculate the cost of the school. Now, of
Mm.
course, you can always change the cost if it's not accurate, but
Mm.
because we have that data, we kind of make it easy for you so that way you can go directly into this page of the application.
Mm. Got.
And this is where, as we were having the conversation earlier, as far as reaching out to your school for support, whether it be scholarships or grants, this is where you would input those scholarships and grants. So if
Mm.
you are granted a scholarship or a grant, or you have personal funds that you're going to use towards covering your program costs, then this is the part of the application where you would submit it.
Mm.
Uh, One tip I will give you on this is there is this misconception that a lot of our students have where they're like, well, if I put any money on here, then my application may get declined because they may see that I don't need the money. Um,
Oh.
and and that exactly is just a misconception. What
Mm.
we normally recommend is if you have any scholarship funds, any grants, or any personal funds that you're looking to use to cover your program costs at Purdue University, we always recommend that you input it on here. All that's going to do, it's actually going to strengthen your application because it's going to
Mm.
show us that not only are you in need of financing from Empower, but you also do have other funds available that you're using towards covering this program cost as well.
Yeah.
So let's say Purdue University offers you a $10,000 scholarship. You can easily put it on there. And
Nice.
now, if you have any other personal funds, let's say you have 5,000 USD in personal funds, then you
Mm,
can put it as other. One of the biggest things here is that we only have these three sections. So
mhm,
I always notify students that, if they have multiple scholarships and grants, just to kind of combine them together, put it under
mm,
school. And same thing with any other funds that they have that falls outside of the scholarship and grant. They could just pull them together, put them under other. So what we'll do is we'll save it. And
okay.
now that we've put the funds that we're going to use towards covering our program costs at Purdue University, then of course we'll proceed to the next step of the application. And now this is where it all comes together. So, as I
Mm,
stated earlier, we have the data in regards to what your program cost could potentially be. But most
mm,
importantly, now you could see that you have an additional 15,000 USD in source of funds that you're going to use to cover that program cost. So, the system's automatically calculated that you need about $33,555.
mm,
One of the biggest things here, Yudi, and you kind of alluded to this earlier with a question that you had, what does an Empower loan cover? So, one of the things at this part of the application, this is where you would want to check your financial part as far as your cost of attendance goes with your school,
yeah.
because this is where you would want to request the full funds that you're going to use not only to cover for your tuition, but this is where
Mm,
you would also want to request the funds that you're going to need to cover for your living expenses as
yeah,
well.
because this one is more tuition fee. So it says total cost to complete program, but it's more tuition fees, 48,555, and I'm saying that, oh yeah, I got 15,000 covered. So
Yes,
Empower is calculating that, okay, that means there's a gap of $33,000 or 500, and then I know from my calculation I need at least $65,000. So that would be addition to, instead of 48 it would be 65, and removing 15,000, that'll be like 50,000. So I need
yeah,
another 33 plus 17, so roughly $50,000. Is that kind of?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you just click on this little icon here, it's going to break it down to you, right? So it tells
Oh.
you estimated cost of tuition and fees, health insurance, books and supplies. But as you mentioned and alluded to, the cost for living is not added on here. So of course, that's
Mm,
where your calculation would come in at. So what we're
nice.
going to do is we're going to request the $50,000 that you're looking
Yeah.
and need to cover
Mm,
for the rest of your costs. Now, biggest tip here, it's always going to tell you that you can borrow more than your gap amount to cover for living expenses like travel, laptop, etc. You can request your full cost of attendance up to 100K. So of course, with
mm,
Empower Financing, we offer up to $100,000 USD loan, and it's broken out into 50,000 USD per semester.
nice. Okay.
All right. So we'll go ahead and agree and continue. Now, this is where it's going to ask you if you have any additional debt. If you do have any additional debt in your home country, then you can easily, outline it here to us. If you don't, then you can easily click no, and it'll take you to the next step.
Okay.
Now here, this is one of the biggest parts also of the application, because this is where we're going to outline all of our disclosures in regards to, our truth in lending, our credit report authorization. We don't require, a credit score to make a decision, a FICO score. But if you do have any credit in your home country, or if you've already been established in the U.S. and you may have anything that's being reported in the U.S., then of course this is where we would be able to pull that. Now, when you process your application, it's what it does is it, it pulls a soft credit report. So what
Mm,
that means is that there is no hard inquiry on your credit report.
yeah. So
Now,
this would
once you
not affect the credit score then.
yeah, exactly. So this is just a soft pull. Now, what will happen is once you submit your application in full, then of course that's when a full hard pull will be done, because that's when we're going
Mm,
to request that credit report if the system has picked up that there is one available.
yeah. Got
All
it.
right. So we'll hit next here. Now, the great thing about our new application process is in case you feel like you might have forgotten some information or you just want to
Mm,
double check the information, this is where you can easily click this edit button and it's going to take
mm,
you right back to that section just so that way you can feel 100% confident in the information that you supplied to us. But if you feel like you're ready and good to go, then of course you would submit. One of the biggest highlights here is under the box that says by clicking on submit, you consent to a credit check. So this kind of goes back to the previous page where you accepted on the disclosures. So now once you hit submit, this is where we're going to run that credit report.
nice. Okay.
Okay. So now it shouldn't take long.
And so,
And
oh, wow. Okay.
yep,
It's
there it
actually
is. So
approved.
Yudi, congratulations. You're going to be going back to Purdue University.
Nice.
So, so this here, I'll give a couple pointers on this, Yudi, because now that you've been conditionally approved, as you can see on here, one
Mm,
of the highlights is that if you recall, we agreed that you would need $50,000.
hmm
But if we go back to when we started, our conversation, I think you asked a question in regards to, hey, I'm in the US now, and I noticed that I need a little bit more funds. What do
mm,
I do? How do I go about that? So
mm,
this right here is a good indication that if you do need some additional funds,
mm,
then you could potentially be approved up to 81,900.
mm,
Now, this conditional approval, of course, is all based on the information that I inputted that you provided to me for application purposes. And of course, what's going to happen now is once your application is fully submitted, then of course it goes to our team, and then our team will just verify that information via the documents that you'll
mm,
upload. And of course, if all the information checks out, then more than likely, a lot of the times, this conditional approval kind of stays, and of course, you'll follow through with a full approval of the 50,000 that you request.
gotcha.
Now,
Okay.
now, once you get to this page, light bulb hits, and you're like, you know what? Maybe I should just, ask for an additional 5,000, 10,000 for any incidentals because I feel like, 50,000 may be kind of close. So this is where you would want to confirm your requested amount. So of course,
hmm
if you want to stick to the 50,000, that's great. But if you want to change it, then you can easily just slide here and it
mm,
will keep aggregating more funds to it. But it's not going to be finalized until you confirm the requested
mm,
loan amount. All right.
got it. Okay.
Um, Now, as we've stated through the process, MPOWER Financing doesn't require a cosigner, doesn't require any collateral. And one of the biggest highlights of an MPOWER Financing loan is that our rates are fixed. So our interest rate is going to be fixed and it's going to be fixed for the life of the loan.
Mm,
All right.
mm. It's not floating, it's not variable. It's gonna stay like if it's 11%, it's gonna stay 11%.
That is correct. So a lot of lenders, they may have variable rates and it kind of fluctuates with the market. With Empower Financing, once we process your application and we present you with your interest rate and you agree to it, it's going to be fixed for the life of the loan. So it's going to be
Mm,
fixed while you're studying. And of course, if the rates go up, your rate stays the same. And then, of course, once you're done with your program and you continue to make your payments, that interest rate will be fixed. So that's one less headache that you have to worry about as you go through this process.
great. Okay.
All right. So we'll confirm requested amount. Now, of course, we're doing some due diligence here, so I want to make sure that 50,000 is the requested amount that you're looking for. But
hmm
most importantly, you're starting your studies in August. So this is where you would notify us. Okay, do I
2025.
need do I need
hmm
it for fall or do I need it for fall and spring? Um, I'll give a tip here. A lot of the times with US institutions, especially somebody like Purdue University, um, it's very easy for them to certify a loan for a full academic year because at least then they know that it's a peace of mind for you, but it's also a peace of mind for the institution as well because then they feel like, okay, you're going to have funds for fall, but your funds are already set for spring as well. So that way they
Nice.
don't have to contact you to say, hey, Yudi, how are you looking to cover your funds for the spring semester? So you
Mm.
always want to put down the academic year on here and then, of course, confirm it. Now, when we started the application, we kind of went through the general information that you would want to put on there. So, of course, this is where you would upload a copy of your passport. Now, the good
Mm.
thing is once you click on passport, then, of course, you'll upload a picture on there, and then it's going to actually upload the document. If it's already saved on your computer, then you can easily browse it. One thing I do want to highlight here is, of course, you can provide an unexpired passport. And the reason that I want to highlight that is because once you submit the application, it gets reviewed by our team. If the passport that you provide is expired, then of course our team will reach back out to you to gather a non-expired passport copy. Because of course part of our process is to process information that's non-expired.
Got it.
All right. And now, just for application purposes here, let me see. So I've uploaded a document on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click next.
Hmm.
And then, of course, now it's telling you, thanks, Yudi, for verifying the ID that you've provided to us.
Nice. And at this point, we still don't know. Oh, it gave the error because obviously it was not a real passport.
Yes, yeah. So this is, and I wanted it to highlight this, so that way, because once you provide that passport, if that information matches, then it's automatically just going to say take you to the Empower dashboard. But
Mm.
if it doesn't match, then it's going to give you this message here, and of course, you would want to try again. Now, once you try again, if you get the same error message, let's see here. It's going to try to process, but of course, now it's telling you that your ID is uploaded and will be reviewed. When you see this message, that basically means that, hey, we've accepted the copy that you've uploaded, but now our team is going to take a review of it. And of course, you could just easily click, please continue.
Mm.
So now, congratulations, you've been conditionally approved a couple pages ago, but now this is where it takes you to your Empower portal. So as I stated earlier, that email address that you're using is going to be very key because that's going to be the email that you're going to use to log into your portal. Now, separately, you're going to receive an email once you started your eligibility check. That email is going to say, congratulations, thank you for checking your eligibility with Empower. And it's also going to have a link for you to set up your password. Once you set up your password, if you log out of here, then you'll use that email address plus that password to log back in. The reason that this Empower portal is very important is because this is where we're going to do a lot of the communication. So if there's anything needed, then we're going to send a notification to the portal. Of course, we're either going to email you or call you to notify that there's been an update to the portal. And then, of course, we'll ask you to log in just so that way you can view that notification and, of course, take action on that notification.
Mm. And
Now,
when do I get to know what is the interest rate that I have?
that's a very good question. So once you've uploaded all your documents, which is the next step that I'll show you here on the portal, and our team has reviewed the application based on those documents, then of course the team is then going to make a decision. When they make a decision based on the information provided, that's where we're going to issue you your loan offer. Once you're issued that loan offer, it's going to have the amount that we've been able to approve. Typically, it's the amount that you request. Now, in some cases, if the amount that you requested wasn't feasible, then of course we'll always counter that. But most importantly, it's going to have the interest rate and the APR on that specific loan offer.
Mm.
So by you submitted the application, it doesn't mean that you're tied to the application. But once we process that loan offer and we trigger it, a notification to your dashboard, then it's going to ask you to review it. So this is, of course, where you would want to review that loan offer, and it's also going to tell you the interest rate, and this is where you would be in agreement to the interest rate, of course.
Got it. Okay. And in terms of document, the only document you need is my passport.
That's a good question. So what we're going to do now is click complete now. So of course, once you click complete now, as you can see here, it says you're working on upload proof of program study. So the passport is going to be the primary identification that you provide. And
Okay.
then the second document that you would need to provide is proof of program study. Now, your
Like,
proof of program study is basically your admissions letter.
yeah.
So one thing I will say is you can start your application at any time. In order
Yeah.
for our team to review the application, then we would need that proof of enrollment or admissions letter that's going to notify us A, the school you're attending, so we can match it with your application, and then B, the term that you're beginning, so we can match it up to your application as well. But most importantly, the program that you're going to be pursuing. So as long as that letter has those three key pieces of information, you can upload it, and then of course our team will be able to review it.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
And now, besides that, it's going to tell you upload documents for verification. Because there's probably a list of documents based on the information that we supplied during the application process, it's not outlining them one by one. So what you would want to do is hit complete now. And when
Mm,
you hit complete now, now it's going to take you to the document upload section. So of course here, as you can see, it's telling you, hey, awaiting receipt. Or
mm,
if you've already uploaded a document, it's going to say in verification mode. So besides your passport and your enrollment letter or proof of program study, if you put any information down that relates to any prior employment, then of course it'll ask you for a resume. You can upload a resume. In general, if you have a resume already, you can definitely upload it. What we do is we review it, and that actually helps strengthen your application as well, because
mm,
it's going to show any back history of any prior educational
mm.
experience that you have or any employment experience that you have as well. And
Nice.
then the third most important part of this is the proof of your home country. So as you recall earlier in the application, we put down your permanent residence in India. So of course, we would just require a document to verify that address on there. So now once you've uploaded these documents, then of course it automatically sends a notification into our MPOWER system to say UDJ has uploaded all his documents. This application is ready for review. And now we'll start our review process. A lot of the
Mm,
questions we normally get is how long does the review take? On average, it could take anywhere between 3 to 5 business days, but take it from me, sometimes we can get a decision the same day for you as long as we
yeah.
have all the documents needed or within 24 to 48 hours. Because we
Nice.
understand how important it is for you to have a decision so that way you can continue to plan throughout your process to get here to the US.
Got it. I have another tech question. So we never
Yeah.
set a password or anything. The only thing that we did is like email address. How do I
Mhm.
come back to this portal? Like, I mean, after this
Yeah.
process, I'm like, okay, I need to go somewhere. I'll come back. I don't have my documents right now. I'll come back later. But how do I come back?
So this is where you would want to go back to your email account.
Hmm.
What we've done is when you started your eligibility check, we sent an email saying, hey, congratulations. Thank you for starting your eligibility with MPOWER Financing. That email is going to have a link where you can set up your password.
Oh,
Once you
okay.
set up your password, then of course, if you don't have your documents, you need to come back to it. Then you'll be able to log in with that email address and that password that you set.
Got it. Okay. Amazing. Cool. So looks like that is all the process, and then once I submit all my documents. You said like maybe sometimes 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, depending on the complexity of the case. I'll get the actual loan letter, and then I just move forward from there. And so the disbursement process is like it's slightly non-traditional, I would say. Like, it's not that I'm going to get the money in my personal bank account. Actually, you are going to send it to the university, and then university is going to take whatever it needs for the fees and health insurance, if students is going for that health insurance, and then rest of the money, they will send it to the bank account when we get to United States. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the disbursement process ties into the certification process with the school. So once your loan is approved, we'll send a notification to your dashboard. If you are in agreement to the terms of the loan offer that we provided, then of course you'll electronically sign that. Once you electronically sign that, what that's going to do is that's going to send us a notification to say UDJ has accepted his loan offer. So now it's ready for the next step in the process, which will then be the certification process. So what we do is we electronically, via a common third party, will send that certification to the school. It goes to the school's financial aid office. The financial aid office will then review that acceptance. Once they review it, they'll approve it, but also they're going to provide to us the disbursement dates that they would like for the funds to be received.
Hmm.
Now, on the dates that the university chooses, of course, they'll send that back to us. The good thing is we'll process it in our system, but then we're also going to communicate that with you and upload the information to your dashboard. So once the disbursements are set, there's going to be a section on your dashboard that's going to tell you on XYZ date, we're going to send this disbursement to Purdue University. And then if there's any other disbursements that are already set as well, we'll put the dates on there. Now, the
Hmm.
good thing is that once the funds are electronically delivered to Purdue University, as you stated, they're going to take the funds for tuition or any other charges that you have on there. This is where you play a key part in that open line of communication with your school, because what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to ask them about their refund policy. A lot of the times the funds go directly into the student's account, but then you're going to want to know what the refund policy is. When can I receive this refund to cover for my other expenses? How will I receive this refund? I think a lot of the US institutions now, they've kind of gone to a direct deposit mode. So if you put that information in there, then they'll be able to provide the dates that they can release those funds to your account. And then, of course, once they're released to your account, then you can utilize them to cover for any of those other expenses.
Rahul, thank you so much again for explaining this whole application process. Now I feel like I understand even better. What about the like prepayment? Is there a prepayment penalty? Like, let's say I got an internship or co-op. Purdue is very like known for co-ops. I got a co-op and I made $20,000, and I'm like, oh, I want to pay to my principal. Is that something I can do, and is there going to be penalty?
Yes, of course. There, one of the greatest things about an Empower student loan is that our loan doesn't have any prepayment penalty fees. So what that means is, in the situation that you just brought up, let's just say you receive a $20,000 bonus, and you're saying like, you know what, I just want to pay this towards my student loan because I want to kind of get this out the way. Then what you can do is, of course, you can make that large sum payment, and you would want to indicate to us, hey, I want to make this towards my principal balance. I want to make this towards my interest that's being accrued, or I just want to make a $20,000 payment. And typically, what will happen is we have a third party servicing company that you would communicate with that will handle your payments. And of course, you would want to notify them where you would like those funds to be placed.
Hmm.
And they also will reiterate to you that by making this payment, we want to confirm with you that there are no prepayment penalty fees. So you won't have to pay any additional fees as well.
Amazing. Cool. Final question before we wrap. Are there any common mistakes that you've seen students make when it comes to, doing a Empower application?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I'll highlight just a few, which are the biggest ones that we've seen in the last couple of years and we continue to see is a lot of the times as we went through the application process there, we noticed that, eventually you'll get to a dashboard. We know things come up and or you make mistakes on your application. One piece of advice I have is that if you feel that you have made a mistake on your application, or you feel that you have left some information out on your application, we recommend that you do not start a whole new application, because
Mm.
what's going to happen is it's going to cause a delay in the system, because the system's going to recognize that you already have an application in process. And if you choose to make another application, then of course it could potentially delay the original one plus the new one that you're submitting. Instead, what you would want to do is, of course, you would want to communicate with us that there's some information that's missing on your application, or there's some information that you haven't put on your application that you would like to stipulate. Now, this is where once you submit your application, I think a lot of the times some students may ask, like, okay, well, who do I contact or what's the process? The good thing about once you submit the application is you're going to have a designated point of contact that's called a relationship manager. That
Mm,
relationship manager will reach out to you to notify you that, hey, we've received your application, we've reviewed it, everything is great, we're going to submit it for approval. Or that relationship manager will reach out to you and say, hey, just want to introduce myself. We noticed that there's some information missing. I'm just calling to see, if you can upload it to your dashboard, or you can email it to me directly. And of course, the relationship manager will provide the email that you can send it into. But this is where you would want to notify the relationship manager of, hey, I've got other information that I need to put on there that I didn't get a chance to put. And of course, that's where the relationship manager will kind of guide you as to what the next steps would be. So
mm,
that's one. The second one is the financial support page where you can input your scholarship grants or any personal funds that you're using. A lot of the time, students keep that information outside of the application. And what will happen is it can have a negative effect because then we'll process it and you may get declined. And if you get declined, you get a notification. And then once you get that notification, a lot of students then stipulate to us saying, hey, no, I have additional funds. And then what happens is you go through what's called an appeal process. So of course you have to provide those documents. Our team takes a look at it. But the problem is that once they approve that appeal, then of course you'll have to submit a whole new application under your dashboard. So if you provide that information up front, as I stated earlier, it's only going to strengthen your application. And then the final one is a lot of our students, believe it or not, they don't ask a lot of questions. And I
mm.
feel that, you're new to this process. What you want to do is you want to utilize us, Empower Financing, because we have the experience of this Empower Financing process. So that way we can help you. So the more questions you have, the better it is for us because it kind of helps get to know you a lot better, but it also helps us help you through this application process.
Yeah, I
Mm.
thank you. I appreciate you sharing all of the common mistakes. Hopefully, people don't make it after watching this, and if they do,
Yeah.
hopefully they reach out to you and ask, not you, but the team, and ask
Yeah,
questions.
of
Amazing.
course.
Amazing, Rahul. Thank you so much for doing this. This was very helpful. And I know maybe we'll do more videos and hopefully I'll bring you back and maybe we'll do live sessions, something like that, if people have more questions. But until our next one.
Of course. And as always, keep smiling and keep hustling.
Nice.